Today we are putting rational and irrational numbers in order. This could mean they're in order from least to greatest or that they are on a number line. We're going to do a number line example first. I want to graph each of these on the number line, and we're going to label each point with its value. The problem is that my number line doesn't actually have any dashes on it, so when this happens, you need to know roughly what numbers you're dealing with before you draw the dashes on the number line. So I'm going to look, and I have 0. I'm going to put all of these into decimal form because I find that tends to be easiest. The negative square root of 9 is equal to negative 3, and that is a decimal. There's just no numbers after it. 2.1 is good. Negative 5 halves, if I divide that, I get negative 2 and 1/2, which is equal to negative 2.5. And then I'm going to approximate the square root of 3. I show how to do that in an earlier video, but basically you need a square root above and a square root below. This above, it's very close to 4, which is a perfect square, so it's going to be kind of close to 2, and then it's going to be between 1 and 2, and let's find out how close it is to each of those. To find out, it's going to be 1 point something. It is 2 away from 1 and 1 away from 4, so that means that this is like going to be 1 point. It's going to be like 2 over 3. So 2/3 is like, I know that's 0.66666. So that's going to be about 1.7. Now, if you're close, if you're like 1.6, 1.8, that's still good too. All right, so I got all of these numbers. I have their approximations, and I need to draw my number line. I'm going to make it be between negative 3 and positive 3. That gets all my numbers. So I'll put 0 in the middle. And you want to space your lines out pretty evenly. That way you can show that you know about how these numbers compare to each other. All right, now we're going to go ahead and put our numbers on the number line. I'm going to put 0. It's really easy. You just put 0. Now, negative 3 is over here, but you need to write the number that was originally given. So I'll put negative square root of 9, and that equals negative 3. Then 2.1 is going to be a little bit bigger than 2. Then negative 5 halves. I said that's negative 2.5. Be careful. Some people put it here. That's actually negative 1.5. So make sure that it is between negative 2 and negative 3. That's negative 5 halves. And then square root of 3 I said was about 1.7. So it's going to be about there. But remember to label it square root of 3, not 1.7. So another way is that we could end up ordering these from least to greatest. Before we go ahead and do an example like that, go ahead and try this number 4, and I'll show you my answer in a little bit. Pause the video. Here's my answer. I want it right there. Okay, so here's what I got. I put my number line between negative 2 and 4, and here are all my numbers. Take note that negative 3/5 is a little closer to negative 1 than it is to 0 because it is bigger than negative 1/2 or negative 0.5. Okay, we're going to go ahead and order these from least to greatest. And I'm going to do the number 7 because it's actually a little harder than the one above. So I'll do the one on the bottom and you'll do the one above. When we do these, it's nice to take a second to acknowledge which ones are negative and which ones are positive. So on this one's negative, this one's negative, this one's negative, this one's negative. We don't have any positives, but we do have a 0. So now I know, because 0 is the only thing that is not negative, it is automatically the greatest. When we put these in order, you want, when it says least to greatest, put the least numbers on the left and the greatest number on the right. So because 0 is automatically the greatest, I'll put it on the far right. Done. Okay, let's go ahead and look at these. I'm going to, once again, put them in forms I can compare them to each other, so I'm going to put them in decimal form. Negative 11/5 divides out to be negative 2 and 1/5. If you know that, it's pretty easy to figure that one out, but every fifth is a 0.2, so that's going to be negative 2.2. Negative pi is about negative 3.14 ... And negative 2.98 is that. Now, I'm doing all these in my head. I would recommend that you try to do it in your head before you check a calculator, particularly because on your test you're going to need to show your understanding, or you won't have a calculator. because this is a unit about number sense. So we're going to approximate the square root of 7, and it is close to the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. So it's going to be a 2 point something. Oh, 2. I almost put 2.7. I don't actually know that. It is 3 away from 4 and 2 away from 9. So it's about 3/5 of the way. And that's obviously an approximation. 3/5 is about 2.6, so this is going to be about 2.6. But remember, it was negative square root of 7, so this is going to be, we're going to use negative 2.6 to be that number. Now, we're going to go ahead and put them in order. So I have my 0 already, and then the least number is going to be the number that looks the biggest because we're in our negatives. So negative 3.414 looks the biggest, so negative pi will be on the left side. And then we'll go, the one that looks the next is negative 2.98. Remember to write the actual number. And this one says negative 2.2, so, oh, no, this one's negative 2.6. So I'll put negative square root of 7 next because it's the one that looks the next biggest. And then negative 11/5 will go last. Now I'm going to move my 0 over just a touch so you can tell 0 is in that set. Okay, go ahead and try this example 2 above, and I'll show you my answer in just a second. Okay, here's what I got. Okay, I got negative square root of 3 on the left and pi on the right. This one's actually a little easier because 2 of those numbers are negative, 1 is 0, and 3 are positive. So if you organize it into negatives and positives first, you've already split it into 2 sides, and you just have to figure out which is bigger among those numbers. So that will make it a little bit easier.